And I will tell you already that I'm biased against leasing. So if you know someone that's leasing, nothing, it's not personal. I just don't see the value in it. So something when it comes to leasing is you need to know what the residual value is. It's the purchase price of the car, okay, after the lease is over. After the maturity of the lease. So let me give you an example. A brand new car, when it's brand new, when you're signing the lease, right, they're gonna tell you that a car is worth, you know, X number of dollars. Let's say it's $30,000. And the residual value is 80%, let's say. And now they ask, like, how much is it in dollars? Well, we would just do this. Residual value is 30,000 times 0.8, and that's 24,000. Yeah, 24,000. And that's before tax. So the residual value is not taxed. Okay. Then there's this term, buyout cost. It is the cost to purchase the vehicle at the end of lease, comma, after taxes. I will, yeah, I'll leave it like that for now. So example, in our previous, the residual value was 24,000. So it would be 24,000 and taxes are 12% on a lease. Okay, that's why we multiply by 1.12. Just like adding taxes to our design and measurement portion. Let me just do this real quick because I just made it up. So that would be 26,880. So the residual is usually as a percentage, but please don't think it's always percentage. It could be that they just flat out tell you that the residual value is 24,000. But if there's a percentage, an extra step is required. If they ask for the buyout cost, it simply means to add taxes. Okay, that is really what it is, like it's after taxes. So obviously the car has lost its value from when it was brand new, and then simply taxes are added to that. Most contracts state what it's going to cost you when you're done the lease. Okay. And here's the big formula for leasing. And I'm somewhat hesitant to give a formula because if you don't understand it, it's gonna bite you. You know what? Put lease cost. Okay. What it entails is if there's a down payment, you just take it. Then you will add the payment times 12 months. No, sorry. My bad. I was doing so well. And this just payment times the months times 1.12 if you want to tax it. So the payments are taxed 12%. So if you're thinking, why is there three numbers being multiplied? First you figure out your payment times, let's say 48 months, then you will add taxes to that entire amount. So the payments are always taxed 12%. Plus mileage. If there is a mileage cost, we will multiply that by 1.122. I will talk about mileage later, but that's the biggest disadvantage of leasing. There's usually a limit on the amount of kilometers you can drive per year. So let's say it's 15,000 per year and you lease it for 2 years. What's 15,000 times 2? 30,000. If you bring it back and that odometer reads more than 30,000, they will charge you for every kilometer that you went over. So if you want to be an Uber driver, do not lease, right? If you want to be like, if you want to do any kind of delivery service, don't lease. If you live outside the city and you come into the city, it's going to cost you, right? Because mileage is the #1 reason why a car loses its value. It's not the year. The year is also obviously important, but it's the mileage on the car. So if you rack that up, the dealer knows that it's going to lose value, so they're charging you for it losing its value. So I'm just going to box this in and just tell you, like, I would say these things that I just mentioned here are the moving parts of leasing. The moving parts of leasing. All right, and now we're going to do an example here. And I'm going to warn you that the examples are fully loaded. Okay, so I'll try to break it down into pieces you can actually digest. Okay, so Sam is finding new Honda Civic at a local dealership. Obviously, leasing is always done through a dealership. And there's a 28,500 plus GST and PST. And here we're choosing between two options. The first option is to purchase the car with a loan. It's a $5,000 down payment, so that's important. We'll get the loan for the remainder. There's a 6.99% interest rate, compounded monthly, and monthly payments over 5 years. Let's do that first. I will pause here and ask you to do this. Figure out the monthly payments for option 1. So we're going to do option 1 right here. What will be the total cost of the car for option 1, but we'll just figure out the payments first. Beat me to it, okay? For present value, we're buying this car, right? What are the taxes that we're paying for this car? Plus 5% GST and PST. So what I'm going to do on the side here is I'm going to add 12% because we're buying it. So you figure that out. So that's 31,920. So I'm going to use this number and put that in here, my present value. And what are we going to do to that number? Subtract the 5,000, that's right. And that ends up being 26,920. Okay. Interest, 6.99. And we're doing this over 5 years, right? 5 times 12, that's 60. So if you like arrows, I'm going to go arrow, right? That's where that number is coming from. I'm adding taxes to it. I'm taking away the down payment, and so now I can do my TVM solver. So there it is. 532.92. And here's one of the formulas that I'm going to give you again as well today. Is this question asking for your monthly payment? It is not. It is asking for the total cost of the car after completing all the loan payments. So write this one down. Total cost of item would be all of my payments, right? Plus, what do I have to add to this number to account for everything that came out of my pocket? The down payment. So this is particularly for loans, okay? And I did make a summary of a bunch of formulas that I'm going to give you later. So we go 60 payments of 532.92, because remember, this is what you're literally doing every month for 60 months. You're giving the bank 532.92. But you also paid the $5,000 at one point. So here we go. This is going to be $31,975.20 plus $5,000. Oops, a grand total of $36,975.20. How much was the car at the very beginning? $31,900, right? And you've paid, after the loan and everything, you end up paying this much. So what is it, like $5,000, more or less? Okay. So whatever you put as a down payment, you almost paid that, right, in interest over 5 years. So if you can't save it all up, that's much better. So that's the total cost of option one. This is like what most of us are going to do. We're going to buy it. And the province is interested in you knowing the difference between buying and leasing. They want you to analyze and know why should I rather buy than lease, or the other way around. So option two, let's read option two first, because now I'm going to go over to the leasing portion. I'm going to give this a different color. Option two, you select a lease. There's a $5,000 down as well, $401 plus taxes for 48 months. At the end of the lease, she'll have the option to purchase the car for $12,000 plus taxes. What is this called? R value. I'm just going to call it that right now. The residual value. Okay, that they gave you flat out a dollar amount. And here's where I'm going to use a different color altogether yet. Pink maybe. This is where mileage comes in. There's a limit of 20,000 kilometers per year. And if you go over, there's 8 cents per kilometer extra that you're going to have to pay. So there's going to be a little bit of calculating necessary there. So A, we already did. B, what's Sam's total lease obligation in option 2, including the purchase if Sam drives 97,000 kilometers over 4 years? So we're going to break this down. That's why I don't like the formula a whole lot, but the formula for lease, so this is option 2, for lease, we're going to go down plus payments. This is a shortened version of it, plus mileage. That's really what comes down to it. Can I just say something? If the province ever throws a curveball at you, anything that has to do with lease is 12% taxed. Okay? If anything else, like let's say there's like, oh, they repair a mirror that you broke when you drove it around and they need to replace that. If they ever ask for anything, the cost will be that plus tax. That's it. Okay? So down is never taxed. I need you to understand that. I didn't mention it clearly on the previous formula. Down, there's no tax on the down payment. Very, very important, because guess what? I just told you everything is taxed 12%, and this is the one exception to that rule, the down payment. All right, let's keep going. So let's see what we can do here. We have the down payment, so let me see here. Lease is equal to the down payment plus, I'll bracket this. The payment is $401 a month times 48 months. And I'm going to slap on the taxes at some point. Plus, do I need to worry about the mileage? Am I over? It's all crooked. Hold on. Let's investigate. I'm going to do that on the side here. Mileage. What is my limit? You got to be careful. It's 20,000 per year, right? How many years are we talking about in this lease? We're talking 20,000 kilometers times 4 years. So our limit is 80,000 kilometers. What did we drive? 97,000. So we're over. So mileage, that's what I'm going to do here, is I'm going to go 97,000 minus the 80 that you were allowed to drive. So there's 17,000 kilometers that you're going to be charged extra. I'm going to give that a color here to stand out. And I will also give you a heads up. Usually the province, if they do mileage, it's a separate question. It's like B, figure out the mileage for this person. It's not necessarily always like one long formula like this. Okay? So this is what we're over. And let's see if you're awake. If I had driven 77,000 kilometers, would I have to worry about this? No. That, like mileage, this you can cross it out. Like if you're not over the limit, you're okay. So we're gonna go 17,000 times, this is gonna be tight here, I apologize already, 8 cents, like it's 8 cents per kilometer that you're over, and I need to get the 1.12 in there. Ay. What did I do? Let me try again. 17,000 times 0.08 times 1.12. There you go, that's better. So you can't just multiply the whole thing by 1.12 because the down payment is not taxed. So let's do this part right here is 21,557.76. This part right here is $1,523.20. And some might say, that's not a whole lot, Mr. Dirksen, for 17,000 kilometers. You know what? Oftentimes, if you explain it away, you can actually decide, I would rather lease, because I don't, there's a lot of things I don't need to worry about. So the lease itself is 28,080.96. That's just the lease. Lease including tax. But remember, we also want to include the purchase. purchase, let me see if it was 12,000 plus tax that it was going to cost me to purchase this at the end of my lease. So you do 4 years of leasing, you pay the dealer this much, and then you actually say, you know what, I like the car, I don't want to go look for another one, I know how this one works, no problem. You agree to the 12,000 purchase at the end. That would give you 13,440, like that. And I will also underline it, but it's not the final. So total would be the 28,080.16 plus 13,440. Okay. And here it is, 41,520.96. Question, do you think the province will always make it that the lease costs more than the financing? Not necessarily. You have to read carefully, you have to do the math, okay? I think it's always going to be, if you do the math, but they may throw something in there that is not. Question, if the province says, why should Sam lease? Sam, you can maybe answer that question. Yes? Business owner? So what's the good thing about being a business owner and leasing? Maybe you know more than some students in here.
They can write it off.
You can write it off, tax write-offs, yes. If you're a real estate agent, if you're self-employed and you need it for work, then, so that's a good one. I'm going to give you that later, give you some pros and cons. Another one, just by looking at the numbers. Look at their payments. What's the payment here? 401 versus 532. So sometimes just try to look at this and you would say maybe Sam should rather lease because it's a lower monthly payment. There's more left over every month. Right? So those are viable options there. Any other ones? When you lease, if you constantly lease, every 4 years you get a new lease, your maintenance costs are going to go way down. Right? Because you're always having a brand new car, you always have a warranty on your cars. So that's another one. So that's going to bleed into this part right here, the pros and the cons. So the pros of leasing would be always drive a new car that is actually lower maintenance, due to warranty. Do you need to do oil changes and all that stuff? You actually do. You're responsible for oil changes. There are some exceptions. Some dealers are like, oil changes that are on us for X number of years, but it's actually on you. Okay, so lower maintenance. You can say that they're safer because you're going to have the latest safety features. I have a lot, but I'm not going to give you them. I'm not going to give you all of them. Tax write-off. If self-employed, that is. So if you're a business owner, you can't say tax write-off just for anybody, but there's a potential. And this is a big one. You get to try a car before buying it. It's kind of cheesy, in my opinion. Like you're gonna pay a lot just to try it, right? Then I would just say go rent a car. Go rent a car you like. Rent it for a weekend and then figure it out, right? So cons, disadvantages, your payments never stop. can't use as collateral. You cannot say, oh, I have a car bank, can I get a loan like my car is towards the loan in case I don't pay? Nope, you can't do that. You can't customize it. That's huge for some of us, right? Can't customize it. You can't change the muffler. You can't do anything like that. You can't even put decals on, really. You're not supposed to. So that's potential mileage. This is huge. This one I will highlight. Mileage limitation. There's a restriction on the miles you can drive. So for me, that's the one of the main reasons why. And I can actually say, I can see them making a question where it kind of hints towards that. Like you're outside the city, you're driving a lot, this should be the reason why you shouldn't be leasing. And for the pros, I would maybe say that the lower maintenance cost is definitely a big plus. Okay. This concludes leasing. So I honestly don't have a ton of leasing questions. So I'm just gonna say page 71 right here. You can try that one.